Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Student First, Athlete Second IG Live. I am your host, David Watts, and this is episode number 89. We appreciate you all tuning in. We appreciate you all viewing our past episodes on the David Watts Consulting YouTube channel. Before we get started, I wanted to send a special shout out to Mr. Stephen Bernstein. Mr. Bernstein is the program director of a program called We Educate Brilliant Minds. They can be found at Educate Brilliant Minds on IG. They're created to empower, recruit, and mentor inner city kids throughout Southern California and nationwide. They work exclusively with high school students and their parents interested in attending historically black colleges and universities. And why I am mentioning Mr. Bernstein and the We Educate Brilliant Minds program is because they have connected me with tonight's featured guest, Miss Talie Blondes. So we're super excited. Thank you, Mr. Bernstein. Make sure you get out and reach out and follow him on Instagram at Educate Brilliant Minds. So thank you, Mr. Bernstein. Shout out. I hope you're doing well. So our featured guest this evening, Miss Talie Blondes, is going to be joining us in just a few moments. I see her popped in. So sit tight and we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you all for tuning in. Hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Before we get started, very quickly, let the audience know where you're tapping in from.
Tucson, Arizona.
Tucson. What's the weather like out there in Tucson right now? I know it's cool right now, right?
It's still hot. It's about 90 something today, but we're cooling off this weekend. So.
Well, sit tight. I'm going to go ahead and read your bio. I'm going to go ahead and get started, and then we'll get the interview started.
Perfect.
All right. Thank you all for tuning in to another episode of the Student First, Athlete Second IG Live. I am your host, David Watts, and this is episode number 89. We started this IG Live back in January of 2021, and our goal is to inform, inspire, and motivate young student athletes by bringing in guests that talk about their successes, their failures, their work ethic, their stories. And that is why we're here today. This evening's Student First, Athlete Second IG Live featured guest is none other than Miss Talie Blondes. She hails from Las Vegas, Nevada, where she was a three-sport standout scholar athlete at Centennial High School, where she lettered in track for 4 years, volleyball for 3 years, and flag football for 2 years, and was named the Gatorade Player of the Year in 2017. For college, she chose to attend the University of Arizona, bear down, and will go down as one of the most decorated student athletes in women track and field history in Tucson. Not only was she a 3-time NCAA All-American, 2-time Pac-12 champion in 100-meter hurdles and high jump, but she was also the recipient of a receipt-long list of accolades and accomplishments throughout her career. Talie capped off her senior year by being awarded the 2023 Pac-12 Women's Scholar Athlete of the Year. And that is something that's to be commended because I know there were a lot of student athletes that were very deserving. Transitioning into her track and field professional career, she's competing all over the world and will hopefully be soon hearing about her as an Olympic athlete representing the United States of America. I'm honored to have this young woman as a guest on the Student First, Athlete Second IG Live. She definitely has a story to tell and a tremendous amount of wisdom to impart. Without any further ado, I'm proud to introduce to you Miss Talie Blondes.
Thank you.
All right. I know this. I know that your time is valuable, and I know that you were very kind and generous of offering me this time for this interview. So I really appreciate you. I really appreciate you.
Oh, no worries. I'm happy to be here.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Well, I like to start always with my guests with something familiar a term that you've heard, a dynamic warm-up. In this dynamic warm-up, I like to get the blood flowing. I like, and this dynamic warm-up is going to consist of just random questions that only you know. First thought that comes to mind, just shoot out the answer.
Okay.
You ready?
Okay. I'm ready.
Question number 1. What music artist or artist are you listening to heavy in the rotation right now?
Miley Cyrus. Always. She's always at the top of my list. And probably Post Malone.
Okay. All right. I've done some research, and I did hear that you're a fan of Nicki Minaj too. So I've done some research.
I am.
Question number two. If you were to win jackpot, millions of dollars, okay, this week, what organization or cause would you donate your first philanthropy check to?
That's a good question. Probably something to do with breast cancer. I've known a lot of people that have had breast cancer, and some got over it and some unfortunately didn't. So that's important to me. So yeah, probably something like that.
I love that. I love that. Question number 3. You are from Las Vegas, and I need you to share this information with myself as well as the folks who are listening.
Okay.
Folks who were going to be visiting Las Vegas, I need you to recommend to us your favorite Las Vegas restaurant.
Ooh, okay. I would have to say Gordon Ramsay Fish and Chips. It's on the Strip, right by the Lynx, the Ferris wheel. If you don't like fish, but I love it. It's so good.
Okay.
So definitely that.
All right. I've never been there, but I am a fan of his shows.
Yes.
I like how he gets in. Yes, indeed. Question number 4.
Okay.
You might have to think back to this one. In all your years of education, dating back to elementary, middle school, high school, and you just graduated from college, I need you to name me your favorite teacher.
My favorite teacher, easy. Her name was Miss Good. She was my first grade teacher, and I just really liked the way she interacted with us, and she made learning fun. And one of the coolest things about her was she actually had a parrot, and the parrot was always in the classroom with us. It just flew around.
Wow.
I don't know if that was allowed, but that's what she did, and so that was the coolest thing. So yeah, definitely Miss Good.
Well, shout out to Miss Good. Hopefully she's still teaching, and we can get her this video clip. Her this clip. Yes, indeed. Next question. Question number 5. Most difficult lesson you've ever had to learn in life?
Okay, that's a tough one. Probably that not everybody is going to be a fan of me. I know that, people have their opinions and all this stuff, and it's just, I really like people, and I like to interact with people and be friends with people, so it's really tough when, other people aren't reciprocating that and stuff like that. So just, I don't know, probably that.
Got it. Understandable. I think I'm the same way. It really bothers me when there's somebody who's just a hater for no reason, right? I mean, why?
Exactly.
Absolutely. Question number 6, your greatest fear. What is your greatest fear?
My greatest fear? Probably just somebody really close dying to me. That always gets me.
Fair enough.
My dog.
Fair enough. Yes,
Or failing, either one.
Got it. Okay. All right. Question number 7. We're almost done. We have 2 more here.
Okay.
Question number 7. If you could choose one actress to play you in your life epic biopic, who would that one actress be?
Probably young me, or Doesn't matter.
Olympic Olympic gold medalist you. Let's say
Olympic
that.
me. I don't know. I've always been told that I look like Britney Spears. Like I've gotten that so many times. I don't really know if she's counts as an actress though. So I would probably pick like Blake Lively, maybe. I don't know.
All
I like
right, all
her.
right. Okay, that'll work. That'll work. Next question here. Probably one of the most important questions here nowadays for you. Your favorite part of being married?
My favorite part of being married is probably just like the just like the support that he gives me. Like I don't think I could have found a better person or he's like more supportive of me and my dreams. Um, he just always wants me to go for what I want, and I just think that that's like the best part about it is always having somebody there who's so supportive.
That's important. Having a huge cheerleader, that is a must. That is
Yes.
a must. Indeed, indeed, indeed. Last and final question. When it's all said and done, how do you, Talie Bonds, want to be remembered when people say or hear your name?
I always want to be remembered as somebody who fought for what they wanted, like a fighter who never gave up. I always haven't been the greatest athlete, and so I've had this roller coaster of a career, and I just like to remember that I never gave up on myself and my abilities, even in the tough times. And so, yeah, just somebody who fought her way and never gave up.
I love it. I love it. Well, Talie, you have successfully completed the student first, athlete second IG live dynamic warm up.
Yay!
Tremendous job. Tremendous job. For those folks just joining us, our featured guest is three-time NCAA All-American Miss Talie Bonds. She's from Las Vegas, Nevada. She recently graduated from the University of Arizona. She is now a professional track and field hurdler and high jumper. We're super excited to be having her. Talie, I always like starting from the very beginning, learning about people's families and things of that nature. In my research, I have found out that you come from a very competitive and athletic family. Talk to us about coming from an athletic and competitive family.
Yeah, so growing up, I mean, it was never quiet. My siblings and I mean, our family is just sports crazy. We all did sports growing up. So it was so busy when we were kids. We would go from one person's soccer game to as soon as the whistle blew, we'd run to the car to drive to somebody else's game. I mean, it was always constant. And so it was really fun. And I think the best part about having so many siblings who were involved in sports was just, again, the support system. I mean, we were always at each other's games, always cheering for each other. And we were still that way. As you know, I still have sisters who compete in college. And even now at this age, we're flying to go watch them do their stuff if we have time on the weekend or just stuff like that. And so it's just a very tight-knit family, which I'm so grateful for. And I think we all get each other really well because we're also competitive. And so we're able to celebrate the wins with each other and also, console during those hard times and just share experiences with one another. And it's just awesome.
Absolutely. Shout out to both your mom and your dad and your village
Yeah.
for getting you all to your different, because that is amazing in itself. I mean, there's so many games, there's so many camps, there's so many everything. And I'm having problems with it as a only having one child.
Yeah.
So that is awesome. That is awesome. So growing up, I did hear that you and your siblings were multi-sport athletes. Why was it important for you and your siblings to play multiple sports?
Yeah, so my parents always told us to try everything to see what we liked. And they also made it very clear that being a multi-sport athlete would benefit us in the long run. It's good for development and just learning different skills and different sports, I think, has really helped me be able to be the athlete that I am. And so, I mean, I did probably almost any sport you can think of is, I growing up, and so did my siblings. And then as we got older, we started to wean the ones we didn't want out and
Yeah.
try to focus in on what we wanted to pursue. But yeah, I mean, my parents were very big on not specializing in a
Yeah.
sport at a very young age because, I mean, honestly, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket when you're very
Yeah.
young because you never know what's going to happen
Yeah.
later on.
Yeah.
So that happened with us, and we all found what we were passionate about, and it worked out for us. So I would definitely recommend being a multi-sport athlete for as long as you can.
Absolutely. You know, once again, shout out to both your mom and your dad for having that type of mindset. It's just something that sports specialization is something that we see too often these days. And we get these student athletes playing baseball or playing whatever sport all year round, and it really, in terms of development, I mean, it's probably good for a short amount of time because they're getting the experience and the exposure, but that burnout thing is something that is real for a lot of student athletes. So
Exactly.
that is super, super important. Outside of your older sister, who I've heard was an extremely talented track star at
Yes.
the University of Arizona, can you tell me whether it was somebody in your neighborhood, at your high school that was a little older, or somebody who you followed at the collegiate level, or even at the professional level? Who were the folks that you looked up to in terms of whether it be volleyball, track and field? I want to know who you were watching and who was inspiring you growing up.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, obviously, my number one answer would be my older sister.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a younger sister. I tried to do everything she did. I wanted to be her. That's just how the sibling thing goes. But besides her, I don't know. Honestly, she was just a big part of how I became the way I am, and how I got here. But like when I was a kid, I loved watching Alice and Felix, obviously. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody loves her.
Mm-hmm.
And she's such an inspiration in so many ways. And so she was a big part. And I remember we went to Arcadia
Oh yeah.
Invitational
Oh
in
yeah.
high school.
Oh
And she
yeah.
was there, and it was such a big deal. And it was so exciting to see her and to meet her and say hi. And so she was definitely an inspiration as far as it goes as like celebrities or people who are pretty well known. But yeah, and then just my sister. So
That's dope. That's dope. That's dope. I'm out in Southern California, and I try to go to that Arcadia track meet every year in the spring, and it's truly, I don't go to the first day, but the second day, I'm telling you, that second
oh
day is
yeah,
bananas. It's bananas. So
it is.
for any of you aspiring track student athletes, families of aspiring track, or fans of great track, you need to get out to Southern California to the Arcadia track meet. I don't know the dates, but I know it's sometime in the spring. But it is phenomenal, top talent at all levels, male, female, all different types of events. And it's all day. It's
All
awesome.
day for like 3 or 4 days.
It is awesome. It is awesome. So definitely a plug out to the Arcadia track meet. Transitioning into your high school experience,
hmm
talk to us a little bit about Centennial High School. Now, I'm familiar with the Centennial in the Inland Empire out in Southern California. Obviously, this is a different Centennial High School. What type of tradition or experience in terms of sports dominance did Centennial High School? Because I have heard about them as well, doing very well in the state of Las Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, when I was on the track team, I think my senior year was year number 8 in a row winning the state championship.
Mm.
And I think they went for a couple more years after I had left. I'm not really sure. But I mean, everybody knew Centennial as that's the
Yeah.
track school.
Yeah.
And so it was really cool to be a part of. Um, like I said, I wasn't always the greatest athlete.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was there, I got to work on myself athletically, but also still get to celebrate those wins. And even though I wasn't winning individually, but I got to win as a whole team,
Yeah.
and that was a really cool experience. I still have my 4 state rings. I keep them in my house, and sometimes I just like to remember those times because I mean it was the foundation. It's where it all started. And so yeah, Centennial is definitely, it was a big deal with track, and so I was just so lucky to be a part of it.
That's dope. That's dope. It's
Yeah.
always cool to listen and hear, different student athlete stories about high school, because some stories are better than others. And it sounds like yours was a progression. It progressed, but it's something for me, like, we always hear the student athletes who top out early, right? And in my eyes, like, I want to give kudos to those student athletes who are getting better and better and better and growing and experiencing failure and experiencing development. That's something to be said. And I think that's extremely powerful in terms of stories.
Yeah.
You, as a student in the classroom, if you could give, some characteristics, if you could describe yourself as a student back when you were in high school, starting back from when you were a freshman. I know you were pretty smart, intelligent, you did the right thing. What were some of the best descriptors that you would use for yourself in terms of being a student in the classroom?
Yeah, I always did pretty well in school.
Mm-hmm.
I was hardworking, um, and one of the things that I did best was I got my work done early.
Yeah.
So if I had a 10-minute break in between class or a 20-minute bus ride to my volleyball game, I would do homework and assignments and stuff like that during those times so that when I got home, I could have time with my family. I could have time to myself to relax because I don't think your whole life should be school. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 6 hours in school, it was plenty for me. I didn't need to go home
Yeah.
and do 3 hours of homework.
Yeah.
So I tried to get stuff done early so that I could have, a social life. I could go out on the weekends with my friends and I could do things that I wanted. So I've tried to stay ahead of things,
Yeah.
just to make it easier and more enjoyable for myself. And so I would tell anybody to
Yeah.
just get your stuff done as soon as you can so that you can do the fun things and that your whole life isn't school or that you're failing and you're struggling. And so, yeah, that's probably the best thing I can
Yeah.
tell students to do.
I love that. I love the fact of, like, getting ahead, getting your work done. I'm an educator as well. I work at UCLA, and I'm always telling students the more you get done at school, the less you have to do at home. And
Yeah, exactly.
it's pretty common sense, but
Yeah.
I think for a lot of students, and especially student athletes, if there's free periods during the day, or if it's a 45-minute lunch break, or if it's a late start, it's just like, well, I want to be able to hang out with my friends a little bit, or this, that, and the other. But as a student athlete with a rigorous course load, you don't have a lot of free time.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
shouldn't have a lot of free time, because you should be, at least during the school day, at least you should be getting the
Yeah.
majority of your work done. So I appreciate you. You mentioning that, because that is something that is super, super important. Getting ahead and not waiting till the last minute. That is,
Yeah.
yeah. Indeed. In terms of other activities that you were involved in outside of sports, were you involved in student leadership or this, that, or the other at Centennial High School?
I wasn't. A lot of my friends were, and I just didn't really have the time for that because when I was in sports, I would do my school sport and then also a lot of times I
Club.
would have my club sport.
Yeah.
And they would be different sports, so I'd be doing two different sports at the same time, and I just had a lot going on and, had time to do my homework. Um, and go to church events and like stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. So I just didn't join any other type of extracurricular activities at school. I feel like my plate was pretty full already. But I mean, if you have time, I think it's a great thing to join, but I just didn't.
Absolutely. And I feel like sometimes student athletes, they try to put too much on their plate.
Yeah.
And it ends up, biting them in the butt and, on the end. But in terms of advice that you would give your 14, 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old self now, knowing what you know now, what kind of advice would you give yourself?
Yeah, so that's high school. I would give my advice is to make connections with with your teachers and with your coaches and all those adults that can help you on in the future because I mean, there's nothing better than having connections. They help you through anything. If you get to know a teacher, they'll maybe give you a little bit more slack than if you were rude to the teacher and stuff like that. So just making connections with people I think is really important. And also with not only making connections with adults, but also trying to make friends. And I know friends are important, and who you surround yourself with is important. So you need to just be smart about who you pick as your friends because they can determine a lot about your future.
Yeah,
so
I love you
that.
saying that. I love you saying that because oftentimes, friends either good or bad or somewhere in the middle. And I feel like basically what you were alluding to is the fact that, your friends can make or break you. Like it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And, you want to have friends that push you. You want to have friends that add value. You want to have friends that support you. And, you really don't want to be friends with folks more than you need to, obviously, but you don't want to be friends with folks who just bring drama.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's already hard enough,
Exactly.
already hard enough. So, yeah, very interesting, very interesting. For those folks that are just joining us, our featured guest today is none other than Miss Talie Bond. She is a 3-time NCAA All-American track and field from the University of Arizona. She just got finished talking about growing up, going to Centennial High School in Las Vegas. Talie, talk to us a little bit about your college recruiting experience. I know different folks' experience are much different than others, but I'd love to hear how your experience was. Was it heavy? Did it progressively grow? Or how was it for you?
Yeah, so I got the unique experience of having two recruiting processes at different times in my life. The first one was straight out of high school, or during high school, I was getting recruited. And my mom helped me so much with the recruiting process because she had gone through it with my older sister, and so she kind of, knew what to do, and she kind of took the reins on it. I probably should have done more. But so she helped me, so thank goodness for her. But we contacted a bunch of schools, and I got, pretty decent interested in myself. The thing about my recruiting process was when I was recruiting during junior year, which I think is pretty normal. And I was like, you know what, I kind of want to sign before my senior season, just in case something goes bad. You know what I mean? Like if you get injured and, maybe schools aren't interested in you anymore if you get injured or anything like that. So I was like, I'm going to sign before my senior year. I think that's a smart thing to do. So got recruited, went on all my visits, went on 5 officials, ended up picking Utah State. And I loved Utah State for the most part. But I had signed, and then I had this amazing senior season where I had dropped my time so much, and I was like, what? Could have so many other opportunities now. And it just, it depends on the person if you want to sign before or after. I signed before, and then I ended up not being stuck with going to Utah State because I picked it and I loved it. But I had gone to Utah State for 2 years, was very happy there with everything besides the track aspect of it. I didn't feel like it was the right place for me. I needed somewhere where with the coaches had a little bit more experience and they believed in me a little bit more, and I needed something more. And so then I got to go through the recruiting process a second time. So I entered the transfer portal, and then I was like, oh, nobody's even going to really know who I am because, I did okay at Utah State. Nothing special. And so my sister was at U of A. She was just about to graduate. I knew the coaches there because she had had them for 5 years. She loved them. I knew that they knew what they were doing. They're very experienced, great coaches. So I was like, I'm going to U of A. I'm going to enter the transfer portal and then, talk to them. So I entered the transfer portal, talked with the coach at U of A, which is Fred Harvey. Then I woke up the next morning, I checked my email, and so many emails from so many different schools. And it was like crazy because I was like, I didn't know like this many people would actually be interested in me. And so then it made me think, well, do I want to go to Arizona? Because look at all these, the shiny objects, right? Like Texas A&M, like, the schools. And I'm like, maybe I should, And then I was like, no, I'm going to stick with my gut. And I wanted to go to U of A, so I'm going to go with U of A. So I ended up picking U of A. And it has just been the best decision of my life. I couldn't have made a better decision for myself. So that was it was crazy. I know recruiting is so insane. Like it's a crazy process, very stressful process. And I don't envy anybody who has to go through it. But it's for the good. It's going to be a tough decision for anybody, but you just have to go with your gut, and I'm lucky I did, and it worked out great. So I've been super happy with Arizona.
Absolutely. I mean, I love to hear those stories, those happy endings where it didn't end up, the first place location wasn't the best fit, and you end up in a second place. It was everything you thought it was. It was the same way for me. And, it's, there, there used to be some kind of negative connotation where students, that transfer, there was some negative stigma, but obviously nowadays with the transfer portal, this,
Yeah.
that, and the other, it's changed a lot. Now, in terms of college recruiting, obviously, college recruiting, basketball and football, they get the most attention. It's probably the most information about college recruiting. But what type of advice would you give a high school recruit regarding college recruiting for track and field? Obviously, the rules are a little different. Scholarship limits are a lot less than a football or basketball or things of that nature. What kind of advice would you give a track and field student athlete and their parents, just in terms of like how early to start or just whatever it may be?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I am the best person to ask this. I started recruiting process probably sophomore year, and going into my junior year. But I don't know if things have changed since then, because I know it's been a while since I went through the first recruiting process. But I would definitely say, like, when you're talking to schools, like, the best advice that I could give is to make sure that you come up with questions beforehand. I mean, you want to be asking these questions, because when you get there, I mean, I know every school does this. They get there and it's all about the recruits. Oh, look at this. Look at our uniforms. Look at our facilities. Look at this. But you need to be asking those tougher questions, and the questions that that you have about the program, about the coaching, about the training, about everything else. Like, if I get injured, what's the process?
Yes.
What's the steps? How is your nutrition? Can I get psychology help if I need psychology help? Just different stuff. You need to be asking those important questions, because a lot of the times those don't get brought up because of, like I said before, the cooler things on the visit, the football game. I get to go see all these facilities and stuff like that. And I just wish that I would have, my mom was really good. She asked a ton of questions, but I wish I would have thought more about the answers that the coaches were giving me. And, just questions like that, because I mean, you don't want to get stuck somewhere where you're not going to be happy, because that can ruin your love for the sport. And it's happened to tons of people. So you just need to be careful of where you end up going. And if you're not happy, don't be afraid to leave, because, I mean, not every school is for every person. And when we had recruits coming to Arizona, I would be 100% honest with them, because I had an experience where I wasn't happy where I was at. And so I wouldn't want anybody to get stuck in that position. So just make sure that you're asking those questions, and also talking to the athletes that are at the school, because nobody knows the experience of an athlete at that school better than the athletes at that school. So you got to be asking them, what do you really love it here? What are the pros? What are the cons? What would you change? Stuff like that. And so I definitely just think questions is like the most important thing in recruiting, for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm so spot on. I'm glad you added the part in terms of asking the student athletes as well, because oftentimes parents, high school recruits, they ask the questions of the coaches or the administrators. And let's just be real. Some of these colleges are going to tell you everything you want to hear.
Most of them, though.
Right. So you want to be able to ask those questions to that contingency, coaches and administrators, as well as you want to be able to talk to current student athletes, as well as you also want to be able to talk to student athletes who possibly graduated a year or two out or before, because you want to be able to get the wide spectrum.
Exactly.
And I think it's important to be able to ask people who that are going to give you the real deal Holyfield, because there's a lot of BS going around here. And if you just listen to let's just put it out there.
Exactly. And also, I've had athletes reach out to me and say, like, hey, how do you feel about Utah State? Why did you leave? And I also think that can be tricky, because the person can leave with a bad taste in their mouth and they could just bash the school. But also it might be smart to ask people who transferred or, just other things like that, because if they're going to treat somebody a certain way, they might treat you
That's
that same way. And so you just
a
got to get
great
the full story.
That's a great point. That's a great point. I mean, I haven't done this often, but basically what you just said is it kind of made me think of something. It said you're going to start dating somebody. It's important to, I don't know, maybe talk to an ex to see.
Yep, exactly. Get all your information.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Transitioning into your time at the University of Arizona. How many years were you there total?
4.
4 years. Okay. Because the interview that I listened to, the lady that was asking and said, "Oh, you were there 6 years," but the other male student athlete was probably there 6 years. It was the
Yes.
track and field. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because you had said you spent 2 years at Utah State, so perfect.
Yes.
If you were to a high school recruit who was considering the University of Arizona in Tucson, what would be your best pitch, regardless of what gender or what sport? What would be your pitch to sell the U of A?
My best pitch. There's a ton of great things I love about the U of A. For one, the weather. You cannot beat the weather here, especially if you're an outdoor sport. Training, you can train all year outside, which that was one of the reasons why I had to leave Utah State. I mean, we were training indoors for like 6 months, and I was like,
Yeah.
I'm an outside person. I like to be outside, and this just isn't cutting it. So I made sure I picked somewhere where it was super warm. And the facilities here are amazing. And I really like the town. At least like it kind of feels like a college town.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm from Las Vegas, so it's a huge city. And then I went to Utah State, which was like small, which was really weird for me. So I feel like Tucson is like the perfect mix. Like it's not too small, it's not too big. If you want to go down to Phoenix for the weekend, it's an hour and a half away. I mean, it's accessibility to fun places. Rocky Point in Mexico is 3 hours away if you want to drive there. I mean, it's just like a cool place to be able to experience different things. What else? The staff here, I can't speak for every sport, but for track and field, the staff, I love them all.
Awesome.
They're very, very helpful, very supportive. And they've made my time here at Arizona just very enjoyable, and I never felt like I was being ignored. I always feel like they want the best for me and they want the best for my future. And I feel like you have to go somewhere that's going to make you feel like you're the star, like you're important to them. And so U of A, I felt that way here. And so that's another good part of it. What else? The football games are fun. The basketball games are fun. Everything I feel like that's the athlete family is really supportive of one another, which is cool. And yeah, I don't know. That's probably about it.
Sweet.
And there's really good Mexican food here.
Really good Mexican food. I would concur.
Yeah.
I've been to Tucson once, and it was in 1994. It was my junior year. I was there on the unofficial, and there was 2 things that I realized very quickly. The first one was it was a party school, and you were gonna have fun. You was gonna have fun.
That's true. Yes, that's true.
The second thing that I realized very quickly is like in terms of if you were a student athlete, you were going to have state-of-the-art facilities. They were going to be taking care of you in terms of, it was the major sport in the town, or, you could go to places like Los Angeles and you're sharing attention with the sports teams, with another, and it just felt like Tucson, everybody was like, go Wildcats.
Everybody's a Wildcat fan. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be walking in a store wearing like Arizona track or whatever, and somebody will say, "Bear down." And I'm like, "Bear down." It's just like a community that we all are rooting for the same thing, which is really cool.
Absolutely. You're going to be on vacations. You're going to be across the globe, and you're going to be wearing your Arizona stuff, and people,
Exactly. Yep, it's happened to me plenty of times.
Absolutely. whether this happened at Utah State or it happened at the University of Arizona, what was your welcome to college track and field moment for you, where you just were like, whoa, I didn't realize what I got myself into? You know,
Yeah.
where did it happen and when did it happen?
Probably my freshman year. I mean, freshman year is tough. At least it was for me, and I think a lot of people will have that same experience. Um, I I've never run so many hills as I have at Utah State, and I mean, I don't know how many times I cried doing a workout there. I mean, it was just so many
Mm-hmm.
times, and I would cramp all the time because we were running these hills, and so probably just those horrible, horrible workouts.
Mm.
I mean, I don't know if welcome to college is supposed to be like, oh yeah, you're welcome, or like, oh, welcome, like you're
Yeah.
running,
Yeah.
you're running with the big dogs, and it made me realize like, yeah, I mean, I was good in high school, but like everybody's good now. It's not just, I mean, you don't go to college track and not be halfway decent. You know what I mean? So everybody was good, and I kind of was like, well, it was hard for me to accept not to be the best at
Yeah.
everything,
Mm-hmm.
and which is tough. But yeah, I mean, so it was tough, but definitely worth it. So
I've done this interview 89 times. This is the 89th time. And for a lot of the former college student athletes and current college student athletes, that was basically what they generally said. Like their welcome moment was like, I didn't realize it was going to be this hard
yeah,
and this competitive. You know, you're no
yep.
longer the big fish anymore. And
Mhm.
if you are the big fish coming in as a freshman or whatever, you got everybody gunning for you.
Exactly. It's even more stressful when you come in as the best person.
Oh man, yeah, So it's an honor to have you on here. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Um, in terms of advice that you would give a college student athlete currently, what would you give them? I mean, you've been at two universities. You've done very, very well, exceptional accolades, this, that, and the other, right? What type of advice would you give a student athlete to help them manage everything that's thrown at them? For a lot of them, the first time, like it's stressful, it's a lot. Like, what would you recommend?
Yeah, probably to use all of your resources. I mean, they give you so many resources as a student athlete, and a lot of people don't take advantage of them. And at first, I didn't either. And then when I got to Arizona, I was like, you know what? They're giving this to me. Why don't I use it?
Yeah.
And it's just so helpful. I mean, you have nutritionists who can help you change your diet so you feel more energized. And then I talk to sleep people and psychology
Yeah.
people and my coaches. I mean, my coach I could tell him anything, I could talk to him about anything, and he's helped me in so many different ways. So just using the people that are there to actually help you, and they want to help you, they want you to come to them. And so I would just say use anything you can. Use your academic
Yeah.
counselors. Use your free tutoring. Use all those things because they're only there to help you, and they will help you. They're not going to hurt you in any way. So there's no harm. And so yeah, that's what I would say. Use your resources.
Well said. Well said. Well said. We've reached the moment of the IG Live where I want to get technical. I know
Okay.
there's going to be some folks who are listening, who are hurdlers, who are high jumpers, and they're wanting competitive advantages. So, first question, first area, hurdling.
Okay.
It's a technical skill. We all know that. And it's a skill that, like, there's not a lot of margin for error in terms of, like, when you miss, you miss, right?
Yep.
What are some resources? What are some books? Who are some great follows on social media that some student athletes who are hurdlers, where can they go to get information where they might not be getting at their high school level because the coaching isn't that great or advanced, but where can they get it? What type of camps? Who are some folks that they need to follow? I'm trying to get the inside in terms of you feel like, where would you point a direction of a young Talie Bonds trying to get better, improve, and self-develop as a hurdler?
Yeah. So one of the people that I follow and is my friend, and I talk to her all the time about my experiences, is Georgianne Moline. She was a 400 hurdler here at the University of Arizona, Olympian. She's amazing. She posts tons of stuff about hurling. She's retired now, but she's still on there. And she's just been a lot of help for me as I transition from NCAA to professional,
Yeah.
because she's been in my shoes, and so I've been able to ask her stuff like that. In terms of like camps and stuff like that, I mean, I don't know if it's just I'm not involved in all that stuff, but I just don't really know. But I personally, I want to start a hurdle. I don't really know what to call it. And I want to start something that I can send out workouts, drills, all this stuff. And so I'm in the process right now of just getting ideas down and figuring out how to do all that stuff, because I want to be able to share my experiences and what I do and what's helped me with the young hurdlers as well. So I'm going to be starting that pretty soon. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. And
I love it. I love it. And you know what? Like it's you got individuals who have this academic knowledge, right? And they've gone to school, they've got a doctorate and this, that, and the other. Like, you've got that same level of expertise, and it's only growing, and it's important to share it. And I know that for a lot of student athletes and professional athletes, which you are now, in particular football players, they have these, they call them like tight end summit or linebacker summits, where they are inviting high school and collegiate, like elite athletes, and they're all learning from each other and this, that, that is awesome. That is awesome. You have the platform, you have the resources, you have the contacts. I mean, this is something that if you were to only for yourself, your gift wouldn't be spread. You know what I'm saying? And I think, you don't want to be helping the competition too much, though.
Yeah, never that.
But that's really cool. That's really cool. Yeah. I appreciate it. Now, how about high jumping? Are there videos? Is there things where people can go? Because I just know that at many of our high schools across the country, especially for track and field, a lot of the coaches are doing their best, they're volunteering their time, but a lot of them aren't necessarily professionals at what they do.
Yeah.
It's just, hey, it's a stipend. I might have ran track, whatever, but I don't have that expertise. Where could a high jumper learn to jump better?
Yeah, so honestly, my coaches in high school, they weren't super knowledgeable about hurdling and high jump, like probably most high schools. So my coach was YouTube.
Yeah.
So I YouTubed drills, just different stuff. I would watch film. I didn't have my own film, so I would watch other people's film. What are they doing with their technique? How can I apply it to myself? And then I would have my mom or dad or whatever, they would film me, and then I would compare it. And so just like, I mean, you can find literally anything on YouTube. So like if you wanted to learn how to high jump better or to hurdle better, YouTube's a great place to start. I know that's where I started. So I mean, that's what I recommend.
And right on cue, I'm sure you will be having your YouTube page coming soon.
Yes, I am working on that.
Awesome. Well, winding down to the end of the interview here, and I always like hearing from student athletes or professionals who work in the field of athletics. I always like hearing about future. So obviously there are goals that you have for world competitions, Olympics, and things of that nature. But outside of the Olympics and world championships, what does professional track and field consist of? I mean, because you don't really see a lot of the track meets on TV unless they're the big ones. But like, is there money involved? Is there travel? Are a lot of the meets in foreign countries? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm still really new to the professional world, so I'm still learning myself. But I got a little taste of it this past summer.
Yes.
After I graduated, I got to go overseas to Europe, and I competed for an entire month there,
Yeah.
and it was just the coolest experience ever.
Yeah.
But they love track over in Europe. I mean, it's a different world over there. But yes, there's tons of meets. Yes, there's money involved. Some meets pay higher than other meets. It just depends. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's tons of stuff going on. I know that track doesn't get shown very often. Probably just World Championships and
Yeah.
Olympics. But yeah, I mean, there's always stuff going on. Like I said, I was over there for a month doing stuff over there. I'm sure nobody even knew that, but yeah, I mean, just I'm super excited. I'm gonna do a couple meets, not locally, but in the U.S. and I'm
Hmm.
planning on going back overseas next summer as well. And so yeah, I mean, there's tons of opportunities. It's just not really widely talked
Yeah.
about and
Yeah.
shown, which is it sucks. But I wish it got more. I don't know what the word. I wish it got more
Yes.
attention. And so I think people who are in the sport are trying to make it that way and doing different stuff to try and get people more involved and just stuff like that. But I mean, yeah, there's tons of opportunities for everybody, and so yeah, I'm super excited to start the season and get going.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, is in terms of schedule, do you already know months in advance which meets you'll be attending? Because I need to know if I need to get my Mount Sac tickets ahead of time. I need to.
Oh yeah, definitely get your Mount Sac ticket. But besides that, I never know, and it's very the professional world is different. NCAA, you get your schedule, you know where you're going for the next 8 months. Professionally, I I got a call. I was on my way to Arkansas, so I was in a layover. They called me, hey, a lane opened up in New York. Do you want to go to New York? I'm like, sure, buy a new ticket, go over to New York. So it's like you get 24 hours
Wow.
notice of where you're going, and it's just very like, hey, this opened up. Do you want to take it? And so it's very because people have to accept
Yeah.
you, and people drop out and stuff like that. So it's very like you have to be
Yeah.
flexible, and which I think I'm pretty good at being flexible. So that's a good. I know some people would freak out about all that stuff, but for me, I've always been that way. Just going with the flow, go wherever somebody tells me to go, and so it's like that for at least in my experience so far. And I mean, I found out I was going to Europe, I think like 5 days before I was going to Europe,
Wow.
and so it was very last minute. And but like I said, my support system's like, of course you have to go,
Yeah.
and then my mom and my sister met me over there, and they stayed the whole month with me,
That's
and
cool.
so
That's cool.
yeah, it was very fun. But yeah, so it's a different world, and I'm still learning it, and I'm still getting used to it, but I'm just trying to enjoy every moment, whether it's amazing or whether it's tough. But
Yeah. So do you currently have an agent, and the agent is the one responsible for scheduling,
yeah,
or
so
got it?
I signed with an agency right after USA Outdoors.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yep.
That's awesome. That's
Mhm.
awesome. That's awesome. In terms of that time when it's time to hang up the spikes, we're never ready. None of us are ever ready. But
No.
when that time comes for you, when that time comes for you, what type of career field do you see yourself entering outside of, when you're done competing on the national level
Yeah.
or the world level?
So I mean, it's such a tough question because obviously I would just want to be running for the rest of my life,
Mm-hmm.
but I know that that's not possible. And it took me a very long time to figure out. Like I graduated, I had a master's degree, and I still didn't know what I wanted
Got
to
it.
do. I mean, I was just one of those people who I just didn't know. And I I would love to stay in sports,
Yeah.
no matter what it is. Whether it's, I would love to coach. If I could coach at a
Mm-hmm.
university, I mean,
Dope.
that would be like that would be the dream after. But yeah, anything like that, I would love. Yeah, just to coach at a really good university. So
That's dope. Well, let's speak
that's
that
the
into
plan.
existence.
Yes.
Let's speak that into existence for sure, for sure. No,
Yeah.
that's awesome. That's awesome. And I know this. I know that with the undergraduate degree, what'd you get your undergraduate degree in?
I got it in sociology,
And then your master's?
in real estate.
Real estate, which is, ooh, that's phenomenal. That's what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
In addition to that Arizona network alumni base, which is far and wide. Like, I mean,
Yes, it is.
it's something that I'm a Cal Berkeley alum, and I never really knew much about the University of Arizona, but in talking to friends who were student athletes at the U of A, it's like, nah, they get us jobs over here in Tucson.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's cool. That's super cool. That's super cool. In terms of the one skill that you feel that you gotten from track and field throughout your career, right? And still getting and still learning and growing from, what is that one skill that you know that you will carry with you for the rest of your life?
Mm, that's a great question. I mean, track and field has taught me so much,
Mm-hmm.
and it has like shaped the person I am. And so I don't think I'll ever forget those experiences and skills that I've learned from track and field. But I think probably one of the biggest that I've learned, and it was not easy to learn, it's just perseverance through tough times. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're in any sport, you're gonna have to go through those times that suck and
Mm-hmm.
that you question, why am I even doing this? Like, and just getting through those tough times. And you can apply that to any part of your life. And I
Yeah.
think that's why it's so valuable, is because
Mm-hmm.
your life is never going to be perfect, and it's never like nothing ever goes the way that you think it's going to go. At least if you're somebody like me.
Me
Um,
too. Me too.
and so just learning how to deal with just things that are thrown your way, and pushing through those tough times, and knowing that you're going to come out on the other side eventually, whether, it takes a very long time or a very, very short time. But yeah, just remembering why you're doing it,
Yes.
remembering yourself that you love it, and that's why you're doing it. And so, yeah, I would just say perseverance and pushing through and getting to the other side for sure.
Well said. Well said. Entering our final moment of this IG Live. It's the last question,
Okay.
so to speak.
Okay.
This is called the Oscar or Grammy moment. And this is an
Okay.
opportunity for you to give your thanks, shout out organizations, tell people you love them and thank you, this, that, and the other. But
Okay.
it's your opportunity. Your name gets called on the stage. You win the award, whatever award it is. You walk up to the stage, you pull out your notes. The mic is yours.
Okay. Well, I mean, I have a very long list of people that have impacted my career, starting with my parents. They have been so supportive in every single way. I mean, I think they have gone to every single track meet I have ever had. Doesn't matter where it was.
Wow.
We went to the Bahamas for a trip at the U of A for it was our first outdoor meet last year, and my parents bought a ticket and went to the Bahamas.
Wow.
I know that that's not really a sacrifice because it's the Bahamas, but I mean, just everywhere. They're always there and being supportive. The only time they weren't there was during COVID and people weren't allowed to go in.
Okay.
But they watched it online, so that counts. So yeah, my parents have just always been so supportive of me. My sister I wouldn't have gone to the U of A if it weren't for her. And so I'm just always grateful for that. And then my husband for being so supportive. He was the one who was like, you have to go to Europe and you have to go do these things. And so he's just been so awesome with all that. And then, of course, lastly, my coach, Coach Harvey. I don't think a coach has ever gotten me as well as he has. He understands me. He understands the way that I work. And I know I'm not the easiest person to work with, but he makes it easy. And I mean, he's rooting for me always, and I know that. And he believes in me more than anybody does. Sometimes I think he believes in me more than I believe in myself. And so it's just, he's just somebody who's so awesome to have on your team. And so grateful for him and for allowing me to come to the University of Arizona and do all the amazing things that I was able to do. And I definitely would not have done them without him. So super, super grateful for him. And that's
I love it. I love it. I love it. Short and sweet. You know, you got it out the way. Man, this is, I really appreciate your time. I wish you the best of luck. I know that you probably have some travel, probably unexpected travel coming here and there. And,
yes.
you know, good things, great things come to people who put in the work, who've done the right things when nobody's watching. And I know you've done that. I know you've done that. So best of luck to you in your future endeavors. And when's the next Olympic year?
Next year.
Ooh, let's go. Let's go.
So I will be at the trials. So hopefully I can get that 1, 2, or 3 spot. So
speak it into existence, big time.
Yes.
Let's speak that into existence.
Yes.
So once again, thank you again. And offline, I'm gonna send you a DM. I'm going to send you a thank you gift. So I just need somewhere to send it to. Okay. And I'll get that to you in the mail. So I appreciate you. Best of luck. And we're all rooting from you out here in sunny Southern California.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. There we have it, folks. Our featured guest today, 3-time NCAA All-American hurdler, high jumper from the University of Arizona, Miss Talie Bond. She did a tremendous job sharing her story, talking about growing up in Las Vegas, Nevada, and, you know, going to Utah State and then transferring to the University of Arizona. It's just a tremendous opportunity for young people to be able to learn and hear the stories that it's not always glitz and glamour. There's always adversity that's going to come your way. So I definitely want to thank Talie and want to wish her the best of luck this upcoming season. And as she said, I believe 2024 is an Olympic year, folks. So let's speak it to existence that we have a future United States of America Olympian on the David Watts Consulting Student First Athlete Second IG Live. So we're super excited that you all joined us. All previous episodes can be seen on the David Watts Consulting YouTube channel, as well as a heavy presence on social media, whether it be Twitter at DWC Info, Facebook at David Watts Consulting, LinkedIn at David Watts Consulting, Instagram at David Watts Consulting, and last but not least, TikTok at David Watts Consulting. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. Stay tuned for next week's guest. I probably will be announcing that sometime later this week. We're super excited. There's a lot of folks that are saying, yes, I want to be on here. And yes, I want to share my story. So thank you again. Always remember, student first, athlete second. Peace.